Hey, you too, back with another video today, and man, what an interesting day in the market. It's almost as if I had predicted that Amazon stock might be overpriced. It's a funny thing because I've been hearing all my friends, no, Amazon's gonna go to the moon, Amazon's gonna keep going. Well, it's been a little bit of a slump lately. Are you getting a little nervous? I mean, everyone's piling into the same stuff, and I've been trying to tell people about this for a little while now. I may be really new to investing, but the investing principles are still there. And I think a lot of people are just unaware of what kind of dangers they might be in when they're throwing, $1,500 into a stock that is priced in at a really high point. I'm not saying that Amazon can't still have great growth potential, but I think it's overpriced at this current time. And I think it's quite a bit overpriced. And I tried telling some of my friends about that. They still think that Amazon's going to be doing really well over here in the next few years. And I agree with them. I think Amazon still has a lot of growth potential. But do I think that the stock as itself is overpriced? 100%. And there's some other stocks out there that are like that too. Netflix, I think, is overpriced. The run up that it gave for this year was just astronomical. When you have an investment shoot up, 100% in 3 months, um, it just doesn't make sense to me. I do not see it unless they're creating an extraordinary amount of value and it created overhype. And unless it was like the cure for cancer, I just don't see it as a overly. I just don't see throwing my money at it. So I just couldn't invest into some of these stocks. I'm a value investor, and today was potentially a great little dip your toes into the market kind of day. We had quite a bit of an interesting pullback, and now we're almost 12% down from the peak of the year for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And that's not always the best representation of the whole market. It's just a decent representation that you can kind of go off of, kind of how they're working as a whole. You can check, the S&P 500 and some of the other small cap stocks and kind of get a feel of how the market's moving as a whole. But man, what an interesting day. Amazon comes down a little bit and all of a sudden the market comes down. What happens if Amazon decides to, people decide to really sell out of Amazon? I'm talking about a 10% or 15% drop off from Amazon shares. Do you think the world might be a little bit scared then? Well, I think they might. And it's just so funny as everyone's so bullish on everything. And sometimes it's okay to be a little bearish and skeptical on, an overinflated market. We've had such a great run. Look how many years we had of just an uptrend. Like almost, what, a solid 9 years of an uptrend? A decent one. We had problems here and there. And it might not still be done, but we broke the 200-day moving average today. And I've been trying to tell people, this could be the opportunity that you're looking to buy some stocks. Some stocks out there are reaching really, I think, low P ratios, and they're just a little oversold. And that's kind of a buying opportunity for you guys as value investors because, when you have something that's like a 10P ratio versus something that's like, you know, a 258 and it's a solid company and it's still having a decent growth potential or still decent steady output from the stock as a whole, then it's worth looking into. I wanted to take a look at the Nasdaq, see where it's kind of been for the past 6 months, kind of like what's going on with the market as a whole. As you can see, we're still up from where it was back in October sometime, in 2017. We're still up quite a decent amount for the NASDAQ, but it's reached a kind of a scary point right here. As you can see, we had that big sell-off in February, and we're still just barely hanging on by a thread on this one. And so that was what happened with the NASDAQ. And let's move on to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. As you can see right here, even 6 months ago, we're still above that point. But if we come right here, as you can see, we're below that drop off, and that's kind of a scary thing to think about when you're investing right now, because you're kind of getting this kind of downtrend that's happening right here. With the stock market as a whole, it's like we hit this peak right here, and then the selling began, and we just haven't got back to those points. If you look on a 5-year chart, it's quite a steep little slope that we've got going on here. Not anything really that's like anything that's happened. You got kind of like a little dip that happened right here, but as you can see, this is much more massive than that happened back in 2013 to 2014. That's kind of similar in looks. We got a little dips here and there, but if this is a dip, boy, it's a pretty decent one. And then you go back even further, as you can see, it's kind of like this real big spiky point, and it's a decent drop back. And as you can see, back in 2009, here's the housing market crash, and that little bit of a pullback. And I see that we could potentially end up losing a lot of what we've gained over the past few years if we start to enter in a bull market really right here. You start pulling back into somewhere around in this range. It could happen. If it drops below that point, I will buy a lot, as much as I could physically probably afford, and if it goes even lower, then I'll buy any more. But I think this area right here is something to watch out for. If anything, if the stock market starts to go below this point, I think a lot of people will start investing if they have anything left to invest in. And I think a lot of people got tapped out right around in this area because they thought that 2018 would be a massive bull run, and so far it doesn't look like a very good bull run, does it? It looks like a pretty decent bear run. So with that's happening, here's a little bit of a downtrend that you're seeing right here, and it doesn't look like anything that I've seen in the past like 5 years. So be prepared, guys. I want you guys to be prepared for what could happen right now. It's I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's probable that we could end up in a bit of a bear market. So keep your cash on hand. Be prepared for the eventuality of potentially having a bear market and what could come from this. So yeah, and then let's look at the S&P 500. As you can see, we've had just this really nasty slope that's happened right here. We've taken off months worth of investing, and I think we're going to shed some more here in the coming months, especially if earnings don't come through. And if we don't hit our earnings, then we might end up in a situation where things are like really, really gross for our future. So be prepared for that. Well, thank you for watching my videos. Like if you like the video, dislike if you dislike the video, and if you really like the video, guys, please subscribe. As you can see, the stock market is burning up. I think we had quite a bit of a drop today. I think the Dow shed 700 points at one point, so be wary, guys. Be safe. Keep investing. Keep saving that money that I was talking about, putting that money on the side. I think it's really important to build a cash pile. That way you can invest in good times and bad times. So personally, I'm not telling you how to do any kind of investing advice. I'm just here for entertainment purposes.